you're working with Photoshop, knowing how to use the pen tool is a critical step in both advancing the level of your designs and making the most out of your software. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you some of the neat features of the pen tool, along with some suggestions I would have in terms of using it. So I'm going to start out with a standard way that the pen tool can be used, and that is to create custom shapes. So we see with this side banner here, it has a rounded rectangle to start, but then it comes down into this curve at the bottom. And as for how this is actually made, I'm going to create a new layer right over here and show you the steps. So of course I started out with a rounded rectangle and I made it at about that size and no stroke. And then for the curve, I created a new layer and came over to my pen tool and I simply clicked from the edges and curved my way around. When you hold down with the left mouse button after clicking with the pen tool, you can drag all over the place. Actually, that was my mouse messing up. But you can drag and the pen tool will spin, or I should say curve itself, depending on how you drag this end piece. So I'm going to drag into a curve and I'm not going to let go until I'm in position. Next, you're going to want to hold Alt on your keyboard, go over to the white dot that you were just on, and then drag it to the center. The reason being, if I say let's click here and I leave the white dot there, the line is not going to curve itself because this white dot is extended out and is now using that as the point of reference for your line. So unless you take this white dot and you drag it back to the center, your line is going to be curved. But now, since I dragged it back to the center, my line is straight just as I wanted it. And I'm going to continue curving down to the base, and the closer I get, the finer adjustments I can make towards the piece closer to the point I just clicked. The further I go out, the further away the adjustments will be. In this case, way out here, the adjustments are happening at the far ends. When I come in closer, the adjustments are happening at the close end. So I'm going to tinker around with it by going back and forth until it's in position. Once again, I'm going to drag this up. Then I'm going to hold Shift and click. That's going to form a perfectly straight line. Shift click again, and then return back to where I started. Now I can right click, make selection, click OK, Shift F5, do color, and click OK. Or alternatively, you can make this a shape when you initially start out, and it will make the shape for you as you are going around. Just like so. Click back to the top and click all the way over. Make sure we are actually on fill, not stroke, and same effect, we have created a shape. The big thing with path is you can outline stuff for future use. And now we can jump into how the path itself can be used. So in this example, say you want to cut a character out of an image and create a render. So the best way, well, there are a couple ways you can go about doing so. One of those tools being the magnetic lasso tool, but personally, I have had very little luck with this tool. As you can see, it's doing a really poor job of even getting to the edges, especially around the face, where the blend between the dark hair and the dark background is hard to distinguish. So this is where the pen tool comes in. Now this is pretty tedious, but you slowly work your way around the character, curving as needed to match the curvature of his head or his hair or the clothing. And do make sure you are in path, otherwise you'll be making a shape, and that is not what you want. And just work your way all the way around until you wind right back up at the ends. And here, this is how that looks once it's actually cut out. In my case, I rushed a tad, so it's a little messy, but this is probably frowned upon slightly in the general rendering community. But what I like to do is go over to the left go to the blur tool and just go around the edges and blur it. And this really helps the character fit into any scene that you drop them in. So you can see these edges down here are a little jagged, so I simply go around them with the blur tool, and the final product looks something like this. Sure, it doesn't fit the best into the background I chose, but I think it blends fairly nicely. And I guess aside from this part here where I did not cut enough out, let me fix that up real quick. Then right click, make selection, delete, then deselect after going to the rectangular marquee tool, going back to my blur and then blurring that. Perfect. Now I did add a little bit of a drop shadow as a sort of extra effect to help them blend in a bit better, but really any character you render out, you can use in any other design that you might have in mind, for example in a banner or whatever else. Another nice way to use the pen tool is with text. So say I have this text right here, and make sure you rasterize it, otherwise you can't edit it. And I want to make it look a little glitched. One way to do that is with the rectangular marquee tool, but this is rather boring, a little plain. One way I like to do it is by taking the pen tool, click, 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 right click, make selection, okay, move, and move it up. Or on your move tool, you can use 2 fingers on the arrow keys and move it up a bit. Then marquee tool again, right click, deselect, and now I've created a piece coming out of the text. So using the pen tool and the text, you can create some pretty fun effects. This one is the only one that really comes to mind at the moment, but I'm sure you can probably come up with stuff that's a bit more fun. Even something like this could look pretty nice if you take it off, just like so, and in my opinion, it looks better, at least up to here, this part not so much, compared to just taking a rectangle across and dragging that. And as for my final example, I showed this in my clipping mask video, but say you want to make a meme and then some character was rude enough to put their fingers or some other object right into your template and you don't have a good old rectangle to work through. One option again is to use quick selection, but that isn't always clean. As you can see, it goes a little too far over. So in this case, we can use our pen tool and work our way all the way around, holding shift as I click to make sure the line is perfectly straight. Clicking up again, going over, then just working my way around the fingers by turning it, then dragging the dot back to the center. Again, curving this, dragging it back, curving, dragging back. I think I need a new mouse because sometimes my mouse just deselects for no reason at all. Curving, drag back, click, click, right click, make selection, click OK, Control J, and say we now have a background, which I'm just going to grab from here. We can now clip this on and our meme is complete. Beautiful. And that marks the end for this tutorial. If you found this helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe. And other than that, I hope you have an awesome day.